This afternoon, the Georgia Southern Eagles continue their quest for their 5th national 1AA championship. They take their flex-bone offense and a rock-solid defense to Youngstown, Ohio, to take on the Penguins of Youngstown State. The Penguins are trying to make it to the national title game for the 3rd straight year. They're at home, where they've won 32 of their last 36 games. It's quarterfinal round action as Georgia Southern takes on Youngstown State. Stadium at Youngstown, Ohio. It's quarterfinal round action as Youngstown State takes on the Eagles of Georgia Southern. Hi, everybody. I'm Randy Smith along with Jim Campbell, and we are inside the press box because it is a dreadful day here in Youngstown, Ohio. Cold, rainy, and damp. In fact, we've had some equipment problems, but we're here. Great football game, though, and I think the crowd is looking for a great football game.
Yeah, I think the crowd got used to it last week. This is the kind of weather that the Penguins played in last week. A little colder last week. It's actually kind of warm for the northern folks, you know.
Well, I'm not from the north, so it's cold to me. It is a dreadful day. However, the rain seems to have slacked a little bit. We're going to see some outstanding football players on both teams. These teams have been in 5 consecutive 1AA championship games over the last 5 years. Let's take a look at some of the players to watch today, Jim.
Let's check Georgia Southern. If you're going to stop Georgia Southern or they're going to do well on offense, you've got to control the fullback or they have to do well there, and James Williams is the guy. He has gained over 850 of the 1,100 plus yards out of that position for the Eagles this year. On the deep out of their 4-3, hey, this may be one of the best guys in the country. An All-American, Southern Conference Defensive Player of the Year, tackle Alex Mash. He lives up to his name with 10.5 sacks and 13 tackles for loss this year. When you look at Youngstown's offense, as they run out of a multiple set, Tamron Smith, Tim Stower says he may be the best 1AA running back in the country. 1,100 yards, over 1,000 3 years in a row, and has teamed up with running mate Darnell Clark for over 2,000 yards this season. On the defensive side, in a 50 set, it's a linebacker intensive defense, and this guy has been the busiest of the bunch. Leon Jones, 139 tackles, 6 for loss with 4 interceptions this season, including one last week.
Jim, it's Georgia's with 4 national championships during the decade, and Youngstown State, the winningest Division I program of the 90s. Should be a great game.
We think so. Coach Tressel said he thinks this may be the most physical game in the entire playoff bracket.
All right, the winner will advance to the semifinals of the 1AA playoffs. We'll be back with more from Youngstown, Ohio, right after this. Stay with us. At Stambaugh Stadium in Youngstown, Ohio, home of the Penguins of Youngstown State. 2 class football programs meeting today in the quarterfinal rounds. Jim Tressel, in his 8th year as the head coach at Youngstown State, won the national championship in '91 and finished second to Marshall last year in the 1AA playoffs. The other side of the field, Tim Stowers, the head coach at Georgia Southern, replaced the legendary Irk Russell, who won 3 of those 4 national championships for the Eagles in the mid to late 80s.
If Coach Tressel comes up a winner today, he ties former coach Bill Narduzzi as the 2nd winningest coach in Youngstown State University history. And Coach Narduzzi took the Penguins to the Division II national championship game in 1979.
Georgia Southern won the toss. There's Coach Stowers on the sideline. And Georgia Southern in their traveling uniforms, white trimmed in navy blue. Youngstown State, of course, in their red and black with white numerals. Youngstown State receiving the kick. Darnell Clark, number 4, back deep to receive, along with number 8. That's Randy Smith. That's probably the toughest name I'll have to remember today. Steady drizzle. More rain in the forecast. Georgia Southern gets a foot in the ball at the 2-yard line. This is Darnell Clark. Up the middle and not much there as he crosses the 23-yard line. And Youngstown State will put it in play. First down and 10. Maurice Reed makes the tackle for Georgia Southern.
This is a 3rd meeting in the history of these 2 football programs. The Penguins have won both previous meetings, winning, of course, at Georgia Southern in 1991. That started the winning streak that culminated in the Penguins national championship, and then Georgia Southern coming up here to Stambaugh Stadium a year ago and taking a 21-10 setback at the hands of the Penguins. And we do have a Penguin down. He was hit by a crushing block coming downfield.
We'll try to find out who the injured player is, as we are all set to get this quarterfinal round game underway. Other games in the 1AA playoffs today find Delaware at Marshall. We'll be checking in from time to time on that ball game for you. Boston University at Idaho, and then Troy State at McNeese State. That is a night game at McNeese State this evening.
We'll also, we should say, while we've got a moment, we will be joined later by a third man in the booth, Dick Hartzell, who was scheduled to be on the sidelines today, but the weather problems that have created some equipment difficulties allow Dick to stay warm today, and he'll be joining us as soon as we get him fitted up with a microphone.
And I'm sure he appreciates that today.
And I'm sure we'll appreciate the help up here, too. I've worked with Dick many times. Good guy to have in the booth and alongside. Jonathan Richardson was the guy that laid the big block here that created the injury. He came down and really crushed one of the guys on the wall, and although he forced Clark to turn the ball a little bit inside and run into the traffic that brought him down, and we are still blocked out from being able to identify the player who is in fact injured.
They will have to help the player off the field with the cart out around the 20-yard line. Let's set the starting lineups for you while we have just a moment here. Hopefully that injury is not too serious. Youngstown State up front: Miller, DeVecchio, Samarone, Kokas, and Drew Gerber up front. Those, and I tell you something, big guys, around 290 on the average.
And Gerber is making his 55th consecutive start.
Backs and receivers: Brungard, the quarterback; Clark, Tamron Smith, Darnell Bracey, Swizzler, and Aaron Green, your receivers. Neither one of these teams, Jim, known for throwing the football a lot. They depend on hard, grinded out running attacks.
But they both can throw it effectively when they have to, which makes the game very interesting.
Burt, Mash, Flowers, and Thomas. We told you about Mash, the Southern Conference Defensive Player of the Year. The linebackers: Dawson, Carroll, and Davis. The secondary for Georgia Southern: Austin, Stockton, Hitson, and Roselle. Georgia Southern, the champions of the Southern Conference. Only the 11th time in college football has a team in its first year as a conference member won the league championship. Georgia Southern did this. We're going to take a break while we tend to the injured player. We are at Youngstown, Ohio, for the as Georgia Southern takes on Youngstown State. We'll be back. We're back now at Stambaugh Stadium at Youngstown, Ohio. Youngstown State receiving the opening kickoff, and a player injured. We'll try to get his name for you in just a moment. He's been screened from the camera view as well. We are all set to go now. Youngstown State on offense. Georgia Southern kicks off to start the football game. Both these teams depending on good, solid defenses. Georgia Southern, especially last week, a big defensive stand, preserved a 14-12 win over Eastern Kentucky, while Youngstown State had a little easier time against Central Florida, 56-30. Brungard opens at quarterback. And the give straight ahead, Darnell Clark. Not much there.
Both of these teams do rank among the nation's leaders in scoring defense. They both kind of have bend but don't break philosophies that let you run up and down the field, get into the red zone, and they make it really tough for you to get in.
Nick Davis makes the play for Georgia Southern. It's a gain of 3, maybe about 4. The line of scrimmage at the 26-yard line. It'll be 2nd down and 6. First man through gets the handoff. The fullback, Tamron Smith, to the 30. It's shy of a first down, and Youngstown State faced now with a 3rd down situation.
This is typical Youngstown State early offense. They want to get some big hits on with their offensive linemen. They want to get some hats making contact with Tamron Smith and Darnell Clark, and they want to establish their power game. Smith coming out now, and a freshman, Corey Scarlato, checking in. He has seen significant time. Now Smith trotting back in.
3rd down, about 1. Nose of the football resting just over the 30-yard line. I formation now behind the quarterback, Brungard. Straight ahead, Smith with second effort gets the first down for Youngstown State as he crosses the 32-yard line.
They went behind Drew Gerber on the right side that time. Gerber, the 6'1", 310-pound senior, making his 55th straight start. Paul Kokas also over on that side, another 300-pounder. You talked about how big they are, Randy, and this is a big-time offensive line.
Tamron Smith, 1,146 yards rushing at 16 touchdowns. He gets the call a lot. Charlie Burke made the last tackle. First down for Youngstown State. Line of scrimmage at their own 33-yard line. Brungard, left flat. It's incomplete. Pass intended on the left flat.
Trent Boykin was out there. He had Brandon Roselle on the coverage, and Roselle with 3 interceptions on the year.
Pass was intended for Boykin and incomplete. Let's take a look.
Brungard with the slight play action fake and the quick out for Boykin. Ball a little high. Trent is only 5 feet 5 inches tall. Joe Average might have had a better shot to catch that ball. Would have been right in his numbers, but not Trent.
Incomplete pass. Second down 10 from the 33-yard line for Youngstown State. 13:03 to go first quarter. Second man through. Clark around the left side. Georgia Southern reacts well. He's shy of the first down as he crosses the 40-yard line. Brandon Roselle putting the hit on him there, along with Danny Britt.
One thing Georgia Southern brings to the defensive field is great speed. We're going to see this again from ground level. See if you can see number 83, John Quintana, the tight end, step up. And it's Clark running behind Quintana right there, and then bounces out. Trent Boykin sealing the line, and then it's up to the pursuit of Georgia Southern. And again, they have great speed for lateral pursuit to make the play.
Third down, a long one. It's at the 41-yard line. Brungard over the middle. It is caught. First down, Tamron Smith, and he is immediately dropped by Nick Davis. But it's another first down for Youngstown State.
Smith does a little bit of everything for Youngstown State on offense. He runs both of them, tailback and fullback, and he has been a pass receiver this year. That's his 11th catch of the year.
Mark it at the 47-yard line. So the Penguins are moving on the first pass completion of the day for Brungard, who has passed for 1,200 yards and 4 touchdowns and only been picked off 4 times this year.
Last week he doubled his touchdown, 2 going in and threw 2 last week.
Option play right. Brungard with a keeper. Good yardage down the right side. He's got the first down. Out of bounds he goes inside the 30-yard line. Making the tackle, Darius Dawson for Georgia Southern, but a big gainer further.
Brungard is not a pure option quarterback, but he runs it very well because the Penguins do such a great job with Smith. You can see Charles Purdue as the trailer. The Penguins do a good job with the man that was responsible for the pitch, Rob Stockton, and they just were able to step outside him and ramble down to the 27-yard line and a first down.
Big game for Brungard right there. 1st and 10 for the 27-yard line. One receiver right, that's Boykin. Brungard looking to throw, plenty of time over the middle, caught by Darnell Clark. Shy of the first down, but not very shy. It's inside the 20-yard line. Nick Davis makes the tackle for Georgia Southern.
Youngstown State fans haven't seen that very often. Clark had absolutely, well, you can see it from ground level here. You'll see it even better. Look, absolutely nobody there, and he stood and waited for the football. Nobody reacted at all to Darnell Clark. Nice gain.
Good protection that time by the Youngstown State offensive line. There's the numbers for Clark. That last carry by Clark put him over 1,000 yards rushing. Inside, Tamron Smith gets the call. He's inside the 15 and another Penguin first down. He only needed about a foot. He got much more than that. And Youngstown State driving.
Again, this is just an example of the Penguins' power game, but also a misperception that some people have about Youngstown State. They consider them strictly a power running football team, and Coach Tressel has a philosophy of mixing it up. They like to throw the ball, and in fact, in the early rounds of the playoffs last year and the year before, when the weather was really awful, they ran the ball a lot. When it wasn't, they threw it.
First down and 10, just inside the 15-yard line of Georgia Southern. Wide receivers right and left for Youngstown State. Brungard, option right. Pitches back to Clark, and Georgia Southern's there, and they drop him for a loss of a couple of yards.
The wide side linebacker Darius Dawson looked like he was coming up on maybe a kind of a half of a blitz. He was on the left side of the defensive formation, and Brungard runs basically into that. And again, Georgia Southern using its good speed and lateral movement to shut the option play down, and the guy that really got there in a hurry was Danny Britt.
Which is Stowers and Tressel. Loss of 2, 2nd down 12 from the 17-yard line. This is the 11th play of the drive. Option left, Brungard. Hole is there to the 10. Penalty marker dropped. Around the line of scrimmage, Michael Morris makes the tackle for Georgia Southern, but let's see what the penalty is going to be about.
Usually in that area, it's the old holding or illegal use of hands. It is holding against the Penguins, and that will at least slow their drive. They have had a penchant of late of picking up inopportune penalties, but they've also had a penchant for making up for a lot of those.
Penalty being stepped off against Youngstown State.
And as Randy told you, we'll be checking in from time to time with the ball game at Marshall, but we've got an early update with the defending national champion Thundering Herd leading Delaware 7-0. The other ball games, the other 2 ball games on the bracket will both start later. The one in Idaho is a 4 o'clock Eastern start, and the one at McNeese State is a night game, 8 o'clock. So obviously we won't have any scores on that before we leave the air today.
Penalty moves it back to the 26-yard line. 2nd down now and a bunch in 21. Brungard, first man through. Tamron Smith, not much. Georgia Southern stops him as he gets inside the 25. Picked up maybe 3 yards before he stopped by the middle of that Georgia Southern defensive front. Alex Mash was there, as he always is. Going to look again at the Georgia Southern defense.
Down in close, all kinds of white shirts and blue hats there to greet Tamron Smith. There's no question that the Eagles defenders are looking for Tamron Smith first.
Youngstown State 2 for 2 in 3rd down conversions in this drive. It's 3rd and a bunch, though, about 18.
They've been very good on 3rd downs.
2nd man through. Tamron Smith inside the 20, but that will be it. And Youngstown State, because mainly of that penalty, faced now with a 4th down.
We'll be looking now at a guy that holds virtually every Youngstown State place kicking record. He has attempted and made more field goals than anyone in YSU history, surpassing the mark set by Paul McFadden, who is a former NFL kicker, went on to kick for 3 NFL teams. Has good range, can hit it from outside 50. He'll be shooting for it from 36 here.
Wilkins kick. He got it through there. 36-yard field goal by Jeff Wilkins. At 8:31 in the first quarter puts Youngstown State on the board, and they lead Georgia Southern 3-0. We'll be back to Stambaugh Stadium in just a moment, right after this. Offense after a 13-play drive, 59 yards and 6.5 minutes off the clock.
Jeff Wilkins' 14th field goal of the season on 21 tries, and in that range, Jeff is now 5 for 7 this year between 30 and 39, and Georgia Southern will show us a pretty good place kicker a little bit later, I'm sure.
Wilkins does all the kicking for Youngstown State. This one toward the corner in the end zone, bobbled by Chris Wright, picked up at the 10. And he's upended at the 15-yard line.
Tom Dillingham was one of the guys there, number 44. He returned a fumble for the winning touchdown in the Penguins season opener at Western Michigan. Both of these teams pride themselves on their special teams play, and that was an example of Youngstown State's coverage. They, however, are very, very concerned about what Georgia Southern brings to the field in the way of return people.
There's one of the leading rushers on the Georgia Southern team out of that flex-bone offense. Joe Dupree is also passed for 575 yards. First man through, Williams the fullback. Not a lot there, maybe a couple of yards. Youngstown State's defense meets him head on. Reggie Lee, who has 111 total tackles, made that one right there.
We mentioned in the pregame that Youngstown's defense is linebacker intensive. Their philosophy is to let the guys up front play off the offensive linemen and then let the linebackers get busy around the football.
Second down 9. On the option, pitch back to right, not much there. Couple of yards to the 20. Youngstown State with great pursuit. Let's look at the offensive alignment now for Georgia Southern. The linemen up front: Ayub, Cushing, Stevens, Farrell, and Glover. Dupree, Wright, Fraley, Williams, Dawson, and Willis, the skill people for Georgia Southern. Defensive folks for Youngstown State up front: Hill, Birch, Jones, Jethro, and Powers. Reggie Lee, Jones, Randy Smith, Mason Weaver, and Vance Mays. Third down and 5. Dupree looking to throw. Pass way over the head of the intended receiver, Darren Willis. And Georgia Southern goes 3 and out. It's 4th down and 5.
Very much unlike Youngstown State's first defensive series last week when Central Florida drove the field on them and put their backs to the wall 7-0. Penguins do expect Georgia Southern to try and stretch the field a little bit through the air in the early going.
And the punt will be Bill Thatcher, who averages just under 40 yards a kick. He'll stand about his own 5 and get it away. High spiral. He boomed it.
There's another example of the excellent special teams play. This time it's Georgia Southern's coverage unit that gets it done.
Boykin makes the catch and not much running room. 6:57 to go, first quarter. 3-0 Youngstown State. Lead. You see your time remaining in the first quarter. I believe the rain, Jim, is pretty much out of here. Maybe a slight drizzle, but boy, still a cool, damp, yucky day out there.
Excellent crowd, bigger than last week's here, probably in excess of 10,000. We'll have an injury update for you in a moment too on that
front
kickoff
guard
injury.
at Tampa yards. Georgia Southern stops him there. The defensive front for Georgia Southern making the tackle.
The Penguin who was injured on the opening kickoff was Leo Hudson. He is a seldom used wide receiver, but has a big part on the special teams. We are told he has a neck injury, but does have feeling in his extremities. However, he is done for the day.
Second down for Youngstown State. 6:22 to go. Second down about 8. Hand off to Darnell Clark, and Georgia Southern snuffed him out at the 40-yard line. Sean Austin coming up from his cornerback position to make the play.
Youngstown State got a great penetration straight upfield that time. Center Chris Samarone was about 7 or 8 yards upfield, but that's because most of the defense had already disappeared in pursuit of Darnell Clark. This is also an example of, again, of the good lateral pursuit. Here Darnell trying to make the cut to get inside, and you saw how much water this carpet has taken. This carpet's only a couple years old, though, so it's in great shape.
Third down 7. From the 40-yard line, Brungard dropped the football, picks it up, and Georgia Southern drops him. So a good defensive stand here for the Eagles makes it 4th down and 7 for Youngstown State. Aided by the wet carpet.
The wet carpet. Both of these teams are also turnover intensive, particularly Georgia Southern. They've generated twice as many turnovers this season as they did last, and that's one of the reasons that they're back in the playoffs. Brungard just never cleanly getting the exchange from Chris Samarone, a hometown Youngstown product who spent some time at Ohio State before coming back home. Georgia Southern, of course, also has a an Ohio State transfer on its ball club on the defensive side.
Wilkins will punt from his 30. Boy, he really got a foot into this one. Dawson backs up to the 10 and makes the catch. He stumbles crossing the 20, and Georgia Southern really with a little better field position than they started with on their first possession. They'll have it at the 23. Leon Jones makes the tackle for Youngstown State. First down and 10, Georgia Southern.
Again, both of these teams are among the nation's leaders in net punt because they have good coverage units and guys that can boot the ball downfield. Dawson, the guy you saw return there, led the Southern Conference in that category this season, and the Penguins have a great deal of respect for him.
Handoff, first man through. Williams crosses the 25. Got good yardage that time to about the 27-yard line before he's wrapped up by Youngstown State. Reggie Lee was there on the tackle, and Jeff Powers.
Mentioned early on a pass completion to Tamron Smith for Youngstown State that they use their fullbacks as pass receivers. Georgia Southern's two primary fullbacks have not yet caught a pass this year. They are in there to lug the football.
Two receivers left, one right for Georgia Southern. Dupree quickly to Dawson. Dawson to the 30-yard line. He's wrapped up by Randy Smith, and it will be third down.
Penguins did a good job staying home that time. Smith, however, giving the receiver plenty of cushion. And all he had to do was be careful that when he came up in pursuit, that head and shoulder and hip fake didn't leave him standing because there was no help behind him.
Third down and long 3 for Georgia Southern. That was a gain of only 3 on the pass play from the 30-yard line. Dupree on the option. Pitch back to the slot back, Shafton Fraley, who has the first down very near the 40-yard line. And Georgia Southern will be looking, however, at a penalty flag dropped at the line of scrimmage. Vance Mays makes the tackle for Georgia Southern, or for Youngstown State, but the penalty marker will go against the Eagles.
Also, watch number 48 in red, Alfred Hill. He was assigned to the quarterback on the option. You assign a guy to the quarterback, you assign a guy to the pitchman, and the key to stopping the option, or at least keeping it in check, is to make sure you don't break that discipline. If one of those guys breaks his discipline and goes for the ball or the wrong guy, you've got a big play on your hands.
Instead of 3rd and 3, Georgia Southern is going to be looking at 3rd and long. For a team that doesn't pass the ball that much, that's tough.
That could be problematical, but again, they've been able to throw with reasonable effectiveness when they've had to, and I think that's the mark always of a championship team. When your back is to the wall, you do things well. That certainly has been the case here in Youngstown when the Penguins have had to come from behind or have been in a tough situation, needed a drive. They seem to find a way to manufacture it, and obviously Georgia Southern has been able to do that very well, or they wouldn't be here.
Following the penalty, it's 3rd and 10 from the 23-yard line, so they're back where they started. And there is an official's timeout for some discussion. Clock is not working. That's great.
Clock or the play clock.
You know, you would think the rain has been present with us most of the day and night, but it hasn't been that hard. But it's causing all kinds of technical problems for us and for the game crew.
We expected, because both of these teams do like to run the football a lot, that we would have a very quick football game, but between that injury on the opening kickoff and the technical problems down on the field, this may take a little longer than we thought.
Delaware has tied Marshall 7-7 still in the first quarter of play. That game being played in Huntington, West Virginia. Georgia Southern 3rd and 10 from their own 23-yard line. Two receivers right, one left. Lone setback behind Dupree, who's back to pass. Good protection. He's going deep down the sideline. It's going to be incomplete. Broken up by Smith, who had a lot of pass deflections on the year, 13, I believe, to be exact. And he broke that one up. It's 4th down, Georgia Southern.
YSU doing a nice job. You see the defense from behind, and basically they're going to hand these receivers off. They're running right at people. And then you can see Smith, he's in that second tier of coverage. Randy not very tall, but he can get up, and he batted that ball down. Second punt of the day for Georgia Southern. High snap.
Over the head of Thatcher. He's going to go into the end zone. It's loose. It is out of the end zone. It will be recovered for a touchdown for Youngstown State.
I think Andre Mason wound up falling on the football. The question was, would he get to it before it rolled over the end line, in which case it would have been a safety.
A big break early for Youngstown State as the snap goes over the head of the punter, Bill Thatcher, and I mean way over his head. And he tried to pick the ball up instead of just falling on it at the 3, but no, he was hitting it, was dropped.
Reggie Brown got a helmet on the football to drive it into the end zone, and it was Andre Mason who came up with it and then slid out of the end zone. Mason, a Youngstown, Ohio product, went away to junior college and came back. The kicker, Jeff Wilkins, had a school record 46 in a row. Streak snapped a couple weeks ago at Akron.
Wilkins' extra point is good with 3:16 to go in the first quarter. We have the game's first touchdown. It comes on a fumble recovery by Youngstown State. Penguins lead it now 10-0, still in the first quarter of play at Stambaugh Stadium. Mason slid out of the end zone. That's why I thought, Jim, that it might be a safety, because we couldn't really tell, but the officials ruled he had possession before he slid. His momentum carried him on the wet turf out of the end zone.
I thought the ball, in fact, might leave the end zone before anybody could get to it. But again, the big play there was the one made by Reggie Brown. Watch him as he gets his helmet in under the elbow there and pops the ball free. And then it's Andre Mason and company sprinting to the football. Mason getting the recovery for the touchdown. Terica Jones was also there. He's number 1, and the celebration commences. You know, this rivalry has had a lot of big special teams play, and I'm sure that's what Georgia Southern is discussing right now. Georgia Southern, in fact, in the last 2 meetings of these ball clubs, has blocked a punt in each game, including down here last year.
Delaware now leads Marshall 10-7. That's in the first quarter.
That's going to be
53 seconds to go.
That's going to be a terrific ball game, because Delaware scored 49 points at Montana last week. Montana, the number 2 seed in the playoffs. Out of that wing T, they are really a scary football team. But Marshall has a great defense. That'll be a very interesting ball game.
Chris Wright will stand at his goal line as Wilkins will kick off for the second time today. High kick, but this time a little shorter. Wright will make the grab at the 8-yard line. Up the right sideline. He gets away, gets good return out to the 35. And Georgia Southern, with its best field position of the day, Tom Dillingham makes the tackle for Youngstown State.
Yeah, the Penguins' strategy on kickoffs is never to go up the middle. It's kind of in vogue everywhere, I guess. You want to get it or the other, and then try and use the sideline as a 12th guy on defense. Pin the return man on the sideline and then just close in around him.
Georgia Southern still hunting for their first down of the ball game. They had one. It was nullified by a penalty. Dupre option left. Fraley, not much there. Around the left side, maybe a yard. Youngstown State with great pursuit.
Defensive back Terica Jones, number 1, did a good job of fighting off a block at the point where Georgia Southern would like to have turned the corner here and get the ball upfield. Watch for the number 1 in red. He will fight off a block right there. You can see the blocker go down. That was Chris Wright making the block. Jones fought it off, allowed the play to get strung out so YSU could stop it.
He picked up about 3. It'll be second down and 7. First man through Williams. He crosses the 40, and it will be third down upcoming for Georgia Southern.
That was just a case of Georgia Southern not being able to clear traffic up front. Youngstown State feels that against the type of offensive line play that they're going to see today, they have to be an extra half step back off the ball to avoid early contact so that they can react and pursue.
Third down, Georgia Southern. About 3. The line of scrimmage, the 41-yard line. Fraley around the left side. Great defensive coverage by Youngstown State's Reggie Brown.
Reggie just stayed home that time. This can be a very difficult offense to defense with a lot of motion in it. But Reggie just stayed put, coming up with good run support. The Penguins talked about that earlier in the week, how important that was going to be for the DBs today. Just a good old-fashioned stick. Got the shoulder down right on the hip pad and drove him down.
Thatcher will stand inside the 30. This time a much better snap. He gets the kick away off the side of his foot. Takes a Georgia Southern bounce inside the 30, and that's where Youngstown State will put it in play. First down and 10, about their own 28-yard line. It is still raining here. It is still raining. I thought the rain was gone. We just can't see it up in this Ivory Palace, can we?
Yeah, we're about right now. We're about 6 stories up here at Stambaugh Stadium, which is a one-sided facility in that all the seats are on one side of the field.
Beautiful facility, though.
The underside of the stadium has a gymnasium that runs the length of it. All the football offices and some of the other athletic offices and other athletic facilities are contained within.
1:42 to go. Youngstown State in control early, 10-0 on a field goal and a fumble recovery in the end zone. Brungard opens at quarterback. Second man through. Tamron Smith crosses the 30. Good yardage for Youngstown State.
Just good work at the point of attack by the Penguins up front, the middle of the offensive line. Chris Samarone, a 263-pound center, and he is flanked by guards Ray Miller, a 325-pounder. He's only a junior, and the senior Drew Gerber, who checks in at 310. That's a lot of beef for a quick but not overly sized defensive front to handle.
There's a good shot at some of that beef, too. Paul Carroll made the tackle a moment ago for Georgia Southern. Gain of 5 for Smith, second down from the 33-yard line. Clark gets the carry. He might have gotten a yard, but thanks to good second and third effort, Georgia Southern hit him behind the line of scrimmage. He spun away.
I think Walter Flowers was the man that got the good penetration to hit Clark. Darnell is not tall, but like Tamron Smith, who is a little heavier, he runs very hard. He's very, very strong. Watch him take the first hit and bounce away.
Third down, Youngstown State after a pickup of about 2. It'll be 3rd and 3 from the 36-yard line. 7 attempts, 28 yards so far for Smith.
Penguins with a little different set here, the split.
And Brungard, not liking what he sees defensively for Georgia Southern, requests a timeout. That timeout comes with 17 seconds to play in the first quarter. And Youngstown State leading it by a score of 10-0.
I would think that the Youngstown State fans, although obviously now pretty pleased, have to be surprised at the early development of this ball game. Although here last year, Youngstown got 2 quick touchdowns to kind of set the tone. This is a better Georgia Southern football team, there's no question, and I don't think maybe even Youngstown State expected to have 10 points on the board at the end of the first quarter. Be interesting to see what they come out with here, Randy, as they've gone to that split set. They use it a lot, but makes you think why they had to call a timeout instead of Georgia Southern getting the different look. Coach Tressel there.
Total yards 80-0 so far. That's net yards. Georgia Southern's gained a few, but lost a few, but the bottom line is 0 for Georgia Southern so far. Tim Stowers and his offensive brain trust must come up with a way to move the football.
They've really loaded up front on defense. Now they drop back. They've gone to a 2-linebacker set.
3rd down 3. Brungard, good protection. Out to pass. Pass caught by Clark. He's got the first down, crossing the 40-yard line. Georgia Southern Sean Austin from his cornerback spot makes the tackle.
That's something Youngstown expected to see. See if we see it when they line up. This is a little too tight, but they did go to a 5-2 look just briefly. Brungard had a lot of time, and Clark was all alone out in the flat.
That was a gain of 6. It's at the 42-yard line. 1st down and 10, Youngstown State. They lead it 10-0, and that's the end of the first quarter. A good one for Youngstown State. They've won 11 in a row here at Stambaugh Stadium and 32 of their last 36. They lead this one 10-0. And some of you will be listening to and watching the Marshall-Delaware game from Huntington coming up. The rest of you will be back in just a moment.
Coleman had no chance. Looked like a jailbreak. Hamlet, he wasn't real sure what to do with the football. Watch here. This doesn't look like a jailbreak. Fakes to the fullback. Wants to hand it back this way. Coming in this direction. Coleman goes the other way. Still on the move. Donahue Stevenson makes the stop for Marshall. Big loss.
We'd like to welcome the viewers of the Georgia Southern Youngstown State game to Huntington, West Virginia, where the Delaware Blue Hens lead Marshall 10-7 in the second quarter. Along with Sonny Randall and Mark Martin, this is Dave Weekley in Huntington. And Hamlet unable to pick up the first down, and it'll be another punting situation for the Delaware Blue Hens.
Leo Hamlet runs the quarterback draw.
Brian Myers set to punt the football for the Blue Hens, and Tim Martin set to receive it back at the Thundering Herd 40-yard line.
Marshall has a return on.
Myers,
he got it all.
A great kick, and Martin returns it.
Got some room.
And he has got a wall down the right sideline. Needs a block on the punter. And Myers, the punter, did a great job to knock Martin off his pins at the 32-yard line. Marshall has great field position. And for the viewers of the Penguins and the Eagles, we'll send you back to Youngstown, Ohio.
If it's not for Myers, Martin takes this the distance. Normally, your punter is not that good an athlete. And I'm not putting down the punters as not good athletes, but I tell you one thing, he made a heck of a play there.
A 40-yard punt return by Tim Martin. Thundering Herd, great field position, starting from the
handoff, first man through. Tamron Smith running over people inside the 25 to the 30. Another first down for the Penguins as Smith just bowled his way over Georgia Southern for another first down. Lee Brooks made the tackle. And now let's welcome Sports South and our viewers back.
And for those of you who have been with us and saw that run by Tamron Smith, this is an example of a concern that Central Florida had last week and maybe that Georgia Southern had this week. Youngstown State's big front outweighing Georgia Southern, and they just overpower you at the line of scrimmage. Coach Tim Stowers said, hey, we did a great job in the weight room. We think we've closed the gap, but he was concerned that they hadn't closed it enough.
Clark gets the call, and this time Georgia Southern stops him maybe a yard to the 30. That's it. It'll be second down upcoming. Walter Flowers, defensive nose guard for Georgia Southern, makes the tackle.
That time the offensive line got the worst of the deal. Georgia Southern doing an outstanding job in getting penetration, just kind of clogging things up, so Clark had nowhere to go.
Gain of a yard, second down and 9. Nose of that football resting just shy of the Eagle 30-yard line. 13:24 to go first half. 10-0 Youngstown State leads it. Again, play action fake, pass caught. Zwissler's got it inside the 15 to the 13-yard line. First down, Youngstown State. Brandon Roselle makes the tackle.
Again, Georgia Southern looking into that play for the run, and Zwissler just drifted out into the flat. There was really nobody assigned to him specifically. It was not one-on-one coverage, and all he had to do was sit down where Mark Brungard could throw him the football.
They mark it just inside the 14-yard line. First down and 10. Georgia Southern needs to get tough here, or otherwise Youngstown State's going to be way in control of this one. It's 10-0 now, and the Penguins threatening again. Brungard to Smith, and Smith is met head on by Georgia Southern. Not much there, maybe a yard.
One thing Georgia Southern did there, which was interesting, with the Penguins passing the football now, they didn't have their typical 4-3 look. They had more guys spread out in the second line of defense, and this, of course, we're down in the red zone where you don't have to play as deep either. You can bring guys up.
Gain of about 2 yards on the play. It'll be second down and 8 from the 12-yard line. Whistler comes wide right for Youngstown State. Brungard again, play action over the middle in the end zone, incomplete.
Fans wanted pass interference. Aaron Green, the intended receiver, got a little bump there as he made his out from Danny Britt, but the ball was not catchable anyway. It was just overthrown. The official even signaled that down in the corner of the end zone.
Third down and 8 again from the 12 as we take another look, and good protection again for Brungard.
Aaron Green caught up in the traffic back there. There you see him. Britt has already hit him, but you could see how high the ball was thrown, and it really was not an opportunity to catch it.
Big play here. Third down, as you see the numbers on Brungard. 5 out of 8 passing today. Hand off Smith. Straight ahead. Inside the 10 he goes. It will be 4th down upcoming as he's a couple of yards shy of the 1st down. Scott Davis makes the tackle for Georgia Southern.
Again, Georgia Southern that time had 5 men across the second line of defense. Good look at Mark Brungard and Tamron Smith coming practically right at you, and Scott Davis getting right in there. Second field goal attempt of the day for Jeff Wilkins.
25-yard attempt by Wilkins. Good snap. Kick is down, and it's good. 11:27 to go in the first half. And Youngstown State now extends its lead to 13-0 over Georgia Southern. Youngstown State leading it by 13 with 11:27 to go. And we'll be back to Youngstown, Ohio right after this. 11:27 to go. Youngstown State in front 13-0. The last drive resulting in another field goal. 12 plays, 64 yards. Wilkins 2 for 2 in the field goal department today. And here in the booth with us normally would be our sideline reporter Dick Hartzell was with us. But Dick, welcome to the warm, dry booth.
Thanks, Randy. I'm happy to be mic'd up here and ready to go. There's been a lot of strategy changes here in reference to defenses. Southern's gone into a little bit of a 4-4. They've used a 5-man front.
Wilkins really got a foot into that one. Kicked it about 3 yards past the end zone line. And it'll be 1st and 10 Georgia Southern. They'll bring it out to their own 20. Quite a foot for Mr. Wilkins.
One of the reasons that kick carried as far as he did is the same reason that it's a little warmer here today. He was kicking from south to north, and the prevailing wind today is that direction a little bit. Ordinarily, Randy, when you're in this ball yard, you have a north wind that really cuts, and it would have cut that down.
Time of possession greatly in favor of Youngstown State, mainly because Georgia Southern still does not have a 1st down.
Youngstown controlled the ball 38 minutes here last year.
Dupree looking to pass. Good protection. It breaks down. He dumps it off. It's intercepted by Youngstown State. Coming up with a pickoff, Jeff Powers, the linebacker, and another critical turnover goes Youngstown State's way.
And Alfred Hill was the guy on Dupree's back. He was bringing him down as he threw the ball. Perhaps a mistake in judgment by Joe Dupree.
Let's take another look. Dupree had good protection for a while, and then it broke down.
Well, and here Dupree comes out of the pocket. They had zone coverage on the outside. As you can see, the linebacker just sitting there and able to pick it off.
So the interception still leaves Georgia Southern without a 1st down. 1st down and 10, Youngstown State at the 23-yard line. Or actually the 23. Run guard to Tamron Smith, spinning, fighting his way down to the 15-yard line. Very close to a 1st down, and good 9-yard pickup by Tamron Smith. Ron Stockton makes the tackle.
By the way, Tamron Smith, with his effort today, has passed or surpassed the unofficial record for most rushing yardage in the Division I AA playoffs.
Penguins are operating out of a double tight end set. Fullback leads up through. You have a double team on the tackle, and Tamron Smith bounces up through the middle.
56 yards, 11 carries for Smith. Pretty good start to this football game. There he goes again. Smith at the 5, the 3. He stopped at the 1-yard line. 1st down and goal, Youngstown State. Danny Britt finally wrapped him up and saved the touchdown.
Okay, this is what you see here is the drive blocking by the Penguins offensive line. They come straight off the block. Tamron Smith runs to daylight.
And the gentleman whose record Smith has broken in the playoffs is Raymond Gross from Georgia Southern. Until Tamron came around, Georgia Southern had the top 3 rushers all time in the 1AA playoffs.
1st down and goal. It's at the 1-yard line. Front guard to Smith. He's not going to get in this time. He stopped at the line of scrimmage, and a good job that time by the Eagles front.
Well, you have Alex Mash, the All-American defensive tackle in there. He was the major concern of the Penguin coaching staff coming into this ball game. Everything that they've done defensively is based around making sure that he was under control. And they didn't have him under control there.
Got an update out of Marshall, the defending national champions, now out in front of Delaware, 14-10.
It's a power eye set on the part of the Penguins, double tight end.
2nd down goal from the 1. Smith again. And he still didn't get in.
The guy that came up that time and made the hit was the strong side linebacker, Nick Davis. He did a great job in finding the ball carrier and all that traffic down close.
In last week's opening round game for Georgia Southern, they won over Eastern Kentucky 14-12. The Colonels outgained them considerably, but the Eagles made a couple of really great defensive stands late to preserve it.
Well, the Eagles do a great job of playing down low. They're up front four. They get down nice and low. The linebackers are quick. They come in over top, and they move laterally real well. It's a great football team.
3rd and goal from the 1-yard line. Smith hurdles, touchdown, Youngstown.
Well, exactly the way he got in on the score he got last week. And by the way, that is Tamron Smith's 50th career touchdown, and that is a new Youngstown State University record. There's also a penalty flag, but it comes on the dead ball situation.
Penguins will go in right in behind Drew Gerber, 310-pound offensive tackle with a 31-inch vertical jump. We're talking about a tremendous surge coming off the line there.
It's 19-0. Youngstown State with a lead early. And it comes on top of the fact Georgia Southern still has not made a first down in this football game.
But Youngstown State early in the season had a lot of problems defensively. Through their first 5 ball games, they were giving up 25 points a game. In their last 7, they've given up 72, and that counts the 30 that Central Florida put up last week. So they have been playing some really awesome defense. I believe the penalty marker that was thrown in the end zone after the play is going to be an unsportsmanlike conduct against Youngstown for celebrating, or Georgia Southern for something that happened as a result of the touchdown. And the officials are huddled to talk it over.
Well, there have been a lot of modifications on the celebration rule depending upon what conference you play in or what level of play around the country.
The penalty is against Georgia Southern. Again, there was no question that the touchdown would stand because the flag came very late. We'll probably get the mark off on the kickoff, which would give Youngstown either an opportunity to kick it out onto the freeway this time, or perhaps even try a squib or an onside kick and recover the football.
That might not be a bad strategy, but I think Coach Tressel will kick it out.
Well, to be honest with you, it's been Youngstown State's defense that's really put some numbers up today.
Yes, sir, it is. Coach John Haycock is defensive coordinator, and the primary concern was to keep the in front of them, play zone coverage, and get some good pressure on Dupree.
The kick by Wilkins is perfect. It's 20-0 Youngstown State with 8:55 to go in the first half. And the Penguins in control on their home turf, where they have won 11 games in a row. Stay with us. We'll have more from Stanball Stadium in Youngstown right after this. Youngstown State very economical with that drive. 5 plays, 23 yards following the turnover. The intercepted pass setting up another touchdown by Tamron Smith. His first of this game, and it's 20-0.
Well, Youngstown State, by doing what it has done early here, has achieved a major goal. They are going to some extent, although there's still plenty of time to go, to some extent, though, they are going to take Georgia Southern out of their game plan. The Eagles now must do some things that they don't ordinarily want to do in order to close the gap. But again, they don't have to do them all right away because we've still got plenty of time to play. But 20 points is a bunch to make up.
Well, that's what John Haycock talked about, defensive coordinator, that they had to stop the fullback first and then force Georgia into the pass game.
And this kick from the 50 goes completely out of the playing area.
Didn't make it to the freeway, but by the way, we have the luxury of having 3 people in the booth today, but there is a guy that shot the voice of Georgia Southern, Nate Hirsch, and we talked about it before the game, Randy. Nate has just had some heart surgery, and he's back home and doing well, and we certainly want to wish him a speedy and complete recovery. Nate is a terrific guy. Yeah,
known Nate for a long time, and I want to say hi to you, buddy. Probably see you during the basketball season, but don't rush it, okay? Georgia Southern, things not going too well for Nate's Eagles right now. They're down 20-0. They have it 1st and 10 at their own 20-yard line. Dupree quarterback. Too much time possibly, and it is. It'll cost him 5 more yards. New quarterback now, Charles Bostic for this team. 6 feet, 192-pound junior trying to get something going for this Georgia Southern offense.
The book on Bostic is when you see him in the ball game, look for the run. That's it. That's his first, well, as it is for both Georgia Southern quarterbacks, because it is part of their system. But usually the first thing that they do is run with Charles.
Well, the Eagles are operating out of a what they call a run and shoot offense. They have 2 split ends, the offensive line and the 2 wing backs, as you see them set up there. They bring the motion and then option off of that. There's the option.
Option left. Bostic pitches back. Fraley's got it down the left sideline. Good yardage. On the left side, Reggie Brown pushes him out of bounds for Youngstown State. That could be the biggest gainer of the day for Georgia Southern.
Well, it's definitely their first